Let's talk about Diana and the BBC. That is extraordinary. An interview that took place in 1995 should still be the subject of front page story today, but it very much is. Today is the day that the BBC, we're told, is braced for a report carried out by Lord Dyson, the former Master of the Rolls, into what happened concerning the Martin Bashir, infamous, probably one of the most famous interviews done in the last century of Princess of Wales. Now, of course, this was an interview 26 years ago in which she declared there were three of us in this marriage, in reference to Prince Charles's infidelity with Camilla Parker Bowles. This was what basically led inevitably to the couple's divorce, and then, of course, you could argue it led to the situation where she was travelling with Dodi Fayed in a car, being chased by paparazzi in Paris on the fateful night that she died in 1997. Well, the accusations that have been flowing thick and fast in recent months, and largely starting from Earl Spencer, late Diana's brother, was that she was lied to by Martin Bashir, the reporter that got that big interview. And even more seriously, that senior figures in the BBC, some have named the names of Lord Tony Hall, who was Director General at the time, that they actually were part of a cover-up once they realised that Martin Bashir had told lies to Diana and to Earl Spencer to get that interview. Well, let's talk about that right now with Rupert Bell, talkRADIO's royal correspondent. Good morning to you, Rupert.
Good morning, Julia.
These are incredibly serious allegations against Martin Bashir, who, of course, has denied any wrongdoing. We know he's given evidence to this inquiry. It's published today. But there are very, very serious allegations against sort of the senior echelons, the management of the BBC in far more recent years as well. Can we just go back to the beginning here, though? What is it that Martin Bashir is alleged to have done?
Well, falsifying bank statements is one of them, to prove that there was a conspiracy against her within the royal family was one of the initial things. And generally, that is the most, and falsifying bank statements. And if you're getting to that kind of level, to try and bring on what he was aiming to do, a vulnerable lady who she was at the time. Yeah. And clearly that interview indicated how vulnerable she was feeling, both from her personal situation, that they basically played on her, I think, and her vulnerabilities, using Earl Spencer as a conduit in a way to ensure that this interview would happen. And it appears that he would stop at no bounds to get this interview, although he has strongly, by all accounts, defended all these allegations in the inquiry that's going to be published. And last week he was resigned from his job. He hasn't made any comment, but clearly the allegations of what was going on to secure this interview was raised by various journalists within Panorama and the BBC at the time. They're saying that there was some wrongdoing. Then Tony Hall did the inquiry and basically said there was nothing at foot wrong. And that's the problem. And then it surfaced subsequently that clearly there was some malpractice in securing this interview.
This is very reminiscent of what happened with Jimmy Savile, isn't it? I mean, obviously we're not making those horrific allegations against Martin Bashir, that the horrible deeds that we know that Jimmy Savile did, and what allegation of wrongdoing against Martin Bashir is nothing akin to the crimes, absolute horrific crimes that were committed by Jimmy Savile. But again, we had the people at the BBC themselves wanting to expose this, and the BBC going, "Oh, this will be very embarrassing for us. Let's try and sort of dampen this down, not letting, I think it was Newsnight, show a report." And then we saw the case of that afterwards. That everyone involved in trying to expose Jimmy Savile, they basically ended up losing their jobs and their contracts and disappearing. And everybody involved in the cover-up, they all got promoted. I mean, there is a serious problem at the heart and at the top of the BBC with this urge to protect the institution at all costs, at the expense of the truth. And this is where this is the big issue, isn't it? Because this is where people are likening this to they're calling this the corporation's phone hacking scandal moment. That actually this is so serious, and the initial allegations are so serious, but the cover-up makes it even worse.
Well, yes, and when you think it's linked with Jimmy Savile, and presumably there may have been some others as well, the BBC is always trying to preserve its sort of integrity and always seen to be beyond reproach. It's a national institution and something that we believe in as an institution, and so they're very vulnerable to internally the sort of machinations of the government and what the sort of position, and presumably at the time, back in the 90s, they were concerned, the Tony Blair sort of era and the government era, they didn't want to be worried about their license. And everything comes back to securing their place and their sort of civil servant nature of the BBC. And that, I think, has caused the problems for, the people who've spoken out. And the Jimmy Savile one was horrific, that the people were covering up that man for so long. And even in this case, Diana's interview, yes, there are comparisons. We've had the two biggest interviews concerning the royal family. We've had the Oprah one just recently, and now we had that one before, which was groundbreaking, we thought at the time, and it led to the divorce of Charles and Diana. It was a must-see moment, but at the heart of it, what is deeply distressing is a man went to sort of huge lengths to secure it that were wrong, and that's what's particularly to sort of play and pry on a vulnerable woman is despicable as far as I'm concerned, and it's just plain wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, the fact that Martin Bashir got this interview as well was very crucial. Was that he wasn't well known. He became a huge figure, went off to work in the States. Surely questions would have been asked: how did you get this interview? And crucially, also again, the fact that Earl Spencer is still alive and can tell the tale. He's presented apparently 8 pages of notes that he made of a conversation he had between Bashir and the Princess at their first meeting back in September 1995, 2 months before the interview took place. There has been documentaries about how this interview actually took place, what came of it. But again, the fact that it's 26 years old, that the cover-up isn't 26 years old, and that is where this is going to be crucial. When we do see this, do you think this is going to fundamentally damage faith that people still have in the state broadcaster as someone we all are required legally to pay for, and is supposed to be the arbiter of truth? I mean, again, I think they've lost a lot of it over Brexit and over coverage of politics in recent years, and certainly over the issue of COVID and the lockdown. But I mean, this is the last nail in the coffin, isn't it?
I think they will be fighting tooth and nail to ensure that the nail is not going into that coffin. I think it will be they see their role as a rock, as it were, in the sort of firmament of the ever-changing media circle. But the world is changing. Is there the need now for a state broadcaster? And that is the sort of question. And some people will say yes, because you can make a broader range of programs and there won't be the commercial considerations. But if at the heart of it there is a desire to sort of cover up and not be truthful, then is that institution fit for purpose? And I think that's ultimately where it comes from. Is it fit for purpose, and does it actually have the right moral compass and understanding of where this world is currently going? And that may be the bigger debate.
Rupert Bell, really appreciate you joining us, talkRADIO's world correspondent.